I hope everybody muted their notification because otherwise you're going to hear boom, boom, boom.
Oh no! Oh no!
I hope I didn't.
Oh, actually, where do you change that again?
So you go settings. At the bottom, it's where your like mute and deafen icons are. There's a thing called user settings, and then you go to notifications, and then you scroll all the way down to user join and user leave, and you unbox it,
Great.
uncheck it.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Hi, everybody who's just joining in. We're going to wait just another minute for more people to hop on, and we'll start.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Yeah. It's holiday time for some of you and us. All right, let's begin. So first, let's start with a quick intro of each individual who will be taking part. I'll let you introduce yourselves, as there's quite a few devs that will be joining this Javelin AMA.
Cool. Maybe we'll just go alphabetically.
Sure.
Starting with myself. I'm Elliot, the game director on Shipbreaker.
Who's alphabetical after that?
You are.
Oh, okay, great. I'm Ian. I am a junior designer, and I suppose I was one of the chief engineers of the Javelin.
I'm Jeremy Hardy. I'm a senior designer and shipbuilder extraordinaire.
Is it my turn now?
I think so.
Hey guys, I'm Miguel, and I'm one of the 3D artists, 3D production artists for Shipbreaker, and one of the modelers for the team.
Hello, I'm Neil. I'm a senior artist, mostly responsible for the 3D assets and texturing in the game.
Hello, I'm Ryan. I'm an associate designer, and I help design the Javelins.
There's David as well. We skipped him at the top.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Hello. I'm David. I'm the VFX and concept artist in the team.
Great. I think that's everybody who will be answering to the Javelin AMA. And if everybody can hop onto the live AMA questions Javelin, it's a text channel just above this one. So just hop right onto that one and I will make it open for questions. And boom, should be open. There we go.
Here it comes.
So the devs will be picking questions at random and answering ones that they can answer to.
I'll start with the very first question there. What time and date is the Javelin content being released? It's kind of up to our publisher to announce the exact time and date, but I can tell you that it will be before the end of this year.
There's this other question. Judging by early drawings, the Javelin looks to be many times longer than the Gecko. How is it going to fit in the cutting bay? Are you going to make a second larger bay for big ships? That's funny. It was pretty difficult to fit in the bay. We went through a couple iterations in different sizes of the ships, but actually they just fit in the regular bay. Anybody else have anything to add on to that?
Yeah.
Someone should maybe tell the story of the other night.
We're going to be in trouble if we want to do larger ships than Javelin.
Yeah.
No one wants to tell the story?
What story?
We basically had this bug that we couldn't figure out. Sometimes in this game we have physics bugs where objects in the game fly around or explode for no reason, as many of you might know. And we had one on the Javelin, and nobody could figure out what was causing it. And we realized just one of the back antennas was intersecting with the back of the bay after a lot of testing. So it ended up being an easy fix, but it was kind of maddening trying to track down what actually was happening there.
Tina, can you call out some questions for us?
Yeah, sure. Who's your favorite producer?
Why?
Ian Meyer Smith, of course.
That's the right answer.
I didn't know we had producers.
That's the wrong answer.
Let's see. What unique challenges will the new ship bring compared to the old ones?
Well, I can start this one off, but mostly a lot of the gameplay is different. Like I shouldn't say completely different, but like you'll spend a lot of time disassembling the ship from the outside, and just the layout. We're not using any prefabs or a lot of the similar layouts we've used in Geckos or in the Mackerels. We kind of just started building the ship from a different place, so a lot of the structures will not seem familiar.
We've actually modeled the ship in segments, so that when you take apart the ship, you kind of like sushi roll it apart and dissect it.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what the speedrunners are going to do, because it's definitely more of a time sink than the other ships. And just because of the size and how you have to interact with the outside the ship a bit more than the other ships that we've released. So I'm super excited to see what you guys do with it.
Just to expand on that a little bit, the ship isn't quite like the Gecko in that you can take apart any section that you want at any point. You can do that for the Javelin, but you're going to have difficulties peeling off certain segments if you haven't peeled off other segments like adjacent to it.
Gonna be like a fun exterior gameplay where you're swinging around with your grapple and then kind of taking apart the ship from outside inside.
Yeah.
Definitely feel different and look different. And there's a lot of the essential kind of modular pieces, but there's a few extras added in there as well. And it feels like a whole different thing. It's really good.
Hazards as well.
Yep.
Here's another question by Torf. Are the long metal rods at the end of some of the Javelins some sort of antenna?
Yeah, they're antenna.
Yeah.
They're just really big antenna.
Mhm.
What modules are going to be on the Javelin?
What
Modules?
Gameplay modules. What systems?
The smaller Javelins are kind of set up to have similar gameplay systems as Mackerels, and the large Javelins will have all of the systems that are in Geckos, basically.
Yeah, you can expect to see a lot of a lot of systems that you're already familiar with, like the thrusters, reactors, some of the plug gameplay. Although we do have a few new pieces that hopefully will be pretty engaging.
There's another question here. Overall, what is the hardest part of designing a new ship class? It's tough to say. The whole thing was pretty difficult. But I guess taking the concepts at a high level and then translating them into 3D art, and then building out pieces. Yeah, building out pieces in a modular way so that we can reuse as much content as possible. When you're doing that with a ship like the Javelin, compared to other ships we have, it's not really built the same. So it was a huge learning process.
And there's also a lot of things that the concept doesn't really catch. Like for example, the interior, the crawl space, how the ship layouts inside, systems we place inside, how they connect, and stuff like that, which we had to retranslate in 3D and design to kind of make it similar to look like it the concept, and also make it production and gameplay wise work.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing was as well, as much as the headaches were there, figuring out how this was all going to work, it's we've now got a system which is working really well. These Javelins, the designers can agree with this, I hope, but it's a lot quicker now for them to build these ships.
Yeah, like to emphasize Neil's systems, like we developed an internal and external kit systems that can work with the Gecko, Mackerel, and Javelin now to expand the modular procedural kind of kit we have.
Yeah. One more thing that I think is worth adding is we have a pretty small team, and typically when we're all working at the studio, it's really easy to just turn around and talk to someone you need to, or pull together a small group of people for a meeting, an impromptu meeting. But when everyone's working at home, it's been tough to keep consistent communication. And one thing we did really well when building this ship is we just have our own Slack channel, and basically everybody is talking and sharing their work and going over the process nonstop all day, to try and emulate what we had when we worked in the studio.
Strike team chat.
Yeah.
Elliot, did you want to touch briefly on the status of the barge currently?
Yeah, so the barge is not getting an update in this update. We are looking to tackle it in the next update. So a lot of the issues that you guys are seeing current barge, especially with it filling up on larger ships and causing problems when you're trying to salvage pieces, we are going to try to address that in the update following this one.
How long is the Javelin compared to the Gecko or Mackerel? I know we discussed the size already, but is that something you want to share?
Yeah, the exact value differs, but I think the smallest Javelin is between the size of a mackerel and your average gecko, but the largest Javelin is something like twice the length of a gecko, but it's certainly not as wide.
Yeah.
I think it's like 70 something meters in game. It's big.
Something like that, yeah.
And what was the hardest part? Oh, did we already? Sorry, we already covered that one. Never mind.
What is our internal testing speed record for speed runs?
Well, for the Javelin,
Javelin.
we need to get someone from QA to give us that one.
We don't have any QA representation, unfortunately.
Unfortunate. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many people have actually sat and just gone through a whole Javelin. Typically, when we test, we're just testing one or two segments at a time. Like you'll do a little bit of work on something, then you test it. Oh, it works. Move on to the next section. It's not a heck of a lot of time to, you know, speed run a Javelin in 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think javelins in general are going to take longer to speed run, and maybe not than a gecko, maybe about the same as a gecko, maybe a little bit longer. But internally, we are much, much worse than the speedrunners out in the community.
Ain't that the truth?
What inspired the more quote unquote realistic ship design of the Javelin compared to the more Star Wars esque Mackerel and Gecko? That's from Polaris B.
Yeah, I think it was primarily just wanting to try something new, both visually and structurally from a gameplay perspective. And we've long been inspired not just by the traditional sci-fi ship designs, but also things like NASA space station design with just modular segments that can be bashed together in various ways. So that was a huge inspiration for this vessel.
Here's one for Jeremy. Will the Salvage Gecko have its rather touchy reactor fixed in this next update?
Put me on the spot. I believe so. Yes, there's a. We did fix a bug for that at some point. I just kind of got out of all bug fixing all the time, but I believe that's gone in.
We put in a fix for that. Whether it will be still somewhat touchy, reactors are touchy systems, but hopefully it will be much improved and
Yeah.
less spontaneous explosions.
What's the in-universe purpose for the Javelin in regards to rail travel, etc.?
I can answer that. The Javelins are primarily not built for rail travel, with the cargo one being the only exception. That one is structurally beefier, and that is built for rail travel. The refueling Javelin is meant to mostly live around and putter around stations, not travel through the rails. It's just not. It's too fragile for that. Too volatile.
What is the story behind the naming of the ship class?
So the Javelins are built by a different manufacturer than the Mackerels and the Geckos. The Mackerel and the Gecko are built by Kleinco, which uses animal amphibious names for their ships. Javelins are built by Helix Corporation, and they use weapon and tool names for their ships.
See a question, what's your favorite part of the Javelin design? For me, like there's a specific archetype, the Javelin refueling, where it has a segment full of fuel cells, and it's one of my favorite part to just chain reaction explosion, kind of just pop them one by one. And seeing like the Javelin just disintegrate and explode to thousands of pieces, that's my favorite segment.
I think, yeah, talking of the segments, especially the ones that they are, they're not covered by panels. You can see all the way through it, all of the structure, all of the systems that are attached to it. That's really refreshing to see in these new ships as well. So yeah, there's quite a few of those segments, like Miguel just mentioned, the fuel section, and then you have the nacelles as well. And it's just nice. It's a really nice breakup of these long ships. You got the nice octagons going on with the panels, and yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's nice and compact as well. You get in there, and it's almost claustrophobic in a good way.
Yeah, like like Elliot said earlier, our inspiration was like the ISS space station kind of design, where it's like tubes on tubes on tubes, kind of like feel you claustrophobic in space. And also having hatches going in and out of the ship, and going into these exterior kind of chassis frame that you could see the bay, inside the ship, going in and out through things.
How about the designers? Any favorite modules?
I like the ion ring specifically. I just think it's a it's big and it's cool to cut apart. I'm simple to please, so that's what I like.
The new cockpit I like a lot. Depending on the configuration you get, there can be this really long tunnel leading into it. It's just a visually distinct area that I like a lot.
So Torf asks, does the dev team recognize the infinite power of the furnace god?
Daily offerings.
Yeah, the furnace god gives us the furnace god gives us strength and sustenance and heat, so long as we worship it.
That raises the question: are there?
I don't recognize any other god.
Is the javelin aligned with the machine god or furnace god? That was another question in there.
Creating a new faction.
How long would you expect a full salvage to take?
For the javelin, it certainly depends on kind of your speed and how much of a completionist you are. It's quite a long time. If you think a mackerel is like 15 minutes and then a gecko is, I don't know, something like 2 hours, I would expect another like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 hours for a very large javelin.
Guy asks, are there any surprises in store in the update? A yes or no answer is fine.
Surprises.
Mm.
Aha.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you win a surprise.
Yeah, what do you mean by surprise? Yes, I can say that the Javelin is not the only significant thing coming in this update.
How many different ship manufacturers are in the pipeline currently?
Undecided, TBD.
How many exist in the game already? 2?
2, yeah, Clanco and Helix now.
How difficult is it to make ships? Do you have internal tools that allow you to make to quickly connect the assets together, modular, or does each ship type need to be handcrafted?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was just gonna say, basically, there's a lot of 3D art that happens outside of Unity. Unity's our game engine, and it's a collaboration of art and design that make the modules of the ship. Within Unity, we have a few specialized tools to spawn things. We have a spawn layout tool that allows us to edit the overall randomness of the ship, its size, and what segments it uses. And then we have more finite tools for spawning variable layouts and that sort of thing. What else is there, guys?
It's like asking the difficulty to make these pieces and ships.
It's difficult.
It's very difficult. There's a lot of rule sets that we need to follow, specific grid, internal measurement, external measurement, very strict measurement when they spawn in so they don't collide and mess up the physics, and certain rule sets that we have to follow so that it can run as a physics game. Yeah, there's a lot of things that happens in the 3D. We have a long list of do not do's and do's for art.
Yeah.
But other than what Jeremy mentioned, the tools that they support them in Unity, on the art side, it's a very kind of like standard game dev affair, really. It's using a 3D package, Maya in our case. Then we export them into Unity. And like Miguel said, it's just a case of making sure that these are extremely precise. Depending on the game you're working on, you can sometimes get away with not being so accurate. But with us, we have to finish on a grid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we get problems.
usually like traditional 3D, you can crash into like the floor and like hide some of the unwanted faces, or kind of like this illusion tricks you do in normal games. With this game, you cannot do any of those since it's a very physics game. Everything has a specific parameter, no crashing in, no, everything needs to have their own colliders and how they're set up. Yeah, a lot of like do's and don'ts.
I know this has been very apparent on the Javelin, but one theme that we've had running across all of these ships on the outside is that everything has to be convex. So you may have noticed, you fans, when you're playing the game, everything is kind of if it's like a halo shape, then the inside of it, we have to break that up into different segments. So yeah, it's a lot for us to have to think about. But it's good, it's part of the fun challenges that we face with making these, and it's giving them a distinct style as well.
Yeah, like there could be, we can't have any concave geo, so we have to, like, for example, if you have like the iron ring, how can we make this circular asset break up into convex pieces and then reassemble them in Unity so that it looks like it's a concave piece? Stuff like that we go in the behind the scenes in the art.
And still make it look interesting.
To make it look interesting.
I know that you guys have a lot of questions about things like new features that are further down the line, or stuff like UGC, other characters, etc. Unfortunately, we can't talk about any of that stuff right now. Yeah, I wish we could give you more information, but at the time we can't.
Will there be haunted versions of the Javelins?
Yes.
Oh, ship versions?
Yes.
Yep.
And that was from Durples. Gimme Glider asks, will we be getting any new data logs in this update?
Unfortunately, this is a narrative light update. It's primarily new content in terms of ships. We are focusing our narrative stuff on a update in the future right now.
Toasty asks, are there any fun and interesting new ways to die with the Javelin?
Fun way to die with the Javelin.
The whole host of new ways to explode.
Yeah.
That's about it, though.
Yeah.
Accidentally setting off an explosion at the far end of the ship and thinking you're safe at the other end, and then having a chain reaction kill you would be probably the biggest novelty.
Will there be Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you were done talking.
Oh, yeah, since the ship is designed in a kind of cylinder way, when one part of the ship explodes, sometimes chain reaction can occur, and then kind of like destroy segment by segment by segment, causing some really epic explosions and deaths, and pieces flying to your head.
Are there any puzzle mechanics within the Javelin? That's from Fitorian.
Nothing really beyond the high scale. Like you have to be a little mindful of what sections you tackle, because you can freeze something, but just because it's freed, it isn't necessarily like off the ship, and that there are other segments that are in the way that you also need to free before you could free something in the middle.
Will there be ghost javelins?
Yep.
Nice.
What is the funniest bug you saw in developing the Javelin? And that's from New Nerd.
Any bug's funny if it's not on me.
Yesterday was a funny bug where the tail would just fly off because it was stuck a bit in the geo of the bay.
Yeah, there are some bugs, and you see the videos that have been taken of them logging the bug, and it's like, wow, actually, I know it's a bug, but that looks pretty cool, actually, when something goes flying off like that.
I like the one where when we remove the thruster cap, the thruster just like shot out, even though the internals are unpressurized. It was so satisfying to watch.
That might still even be in.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Clown's comments, 2 hours for a gecko. We do those in 15 minutes.
Kind of the difference between like getting everything you want or need and getting everything, every single little panel.
A full clear.
Yeah, 1cc.
I think Eric in QA mentioned yesterday he did a full clean of his plate. I think it took him 8 hours easily.
Oh, yeah.
That was with mistakes though and restarts though. So
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have time for one more question.
Oh no.
Help me pick a good one, Tina.
There's so many good ones. Who will be the last question? This is a question.
The stress.
Here's a good one. Will there be a way to mitigate the explosive chain reactions with quick reactions and skill? This is from Toasty.
That is a good question.
That is a good
I think theoretically you could, but that would be very difficult. You'd have to plan ahead to set up the salvage in such a way that you could do that.
I think something that we've talked about, at least in design for a while, is that one problem we have with the game is that there's kind of two states you can be in. Is that everything is fine, or everything is on fire and the ship is ruined and may as well restart. And what we would like to do, I don't know, I'm kind of speaking for everyone here, that hopefully we'll find a way to have more of a middle ground. And it's not in the game yet, but hopefully we'll figure out a way.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming out to the AMA.
Yeah, thanks so everybody for tuning in, and thank you, Devs, for hanging out with us as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
we
thank
hope
you.
we hope you look forward to the update coming soon.
Bye, all. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Take
Happy
care.
holidays. Thank you,
Oh,
guys.
goodbye, everybody.
I'll probably hang around in the chat for